Your choices were very much the spine of the team, the goalkeeper and the centre forward. Was there somebody that come close? Was it a hard decision for you to make, first of all, you, Dave?
For me, Mascherano, I love him. I think he's great. You know, when he first came here, obviously he wasn't match fit. He hadn't played for West Ham, but he gradually bedded into the team, and you know, some of the performances he's put in have just been unbelievable. You know, the Chelsea semi-final, the final against Milan, he had Kaka in his pocket. It was only when Mascherano went off, Kaka suddenly had an influence on the game. So, you know, maybe he's not needed against some of the weaker sides, but if you're playing, the bigger the game, the better he is, and if you put him up against a good side, you know, Mascherano, he just comes into his own. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it'd be unfair to mention any player of the year without mentioning Gerrard, although it's an obvious truth for a lot of fans. You know, he's got the superstar headlines and he scores great goals, but, you know, ultimately it's his team, isn't it? You know, he's the captain and he's the driving force in midfield. I don't like saying it, but the amount of times he's dug us out of games, you can't really ignore it. You know, he's a really good player for us.
That could be a relief for him, though, couldn't it? That everyone's always talking about Gerrard after every single game. Now it's people talking about other midfielders.
Torres is getting a lot of mention now, Gerrard's. But, you know, Gerrard's form's been fantastic recently, you know. But because Torres is doing well, it's someone to share the load. You know, it's not all about Gerrard anymore because, you know, there's other players. But he's done some great things, but for me, he had like a couple of bad spells. And like you say, if I'm giving Player of the Year, it's someone who's been consistent over the whole year, which is why I wouldn't have given it to Gerrard for that. But, you know, he's done some unbelievable things, especially recently.
And consistency is the key, isn't it? The team and the players.
Well, that's the only way you win things, isn't it? If you're consistently good. Maybe that's the only criticism we've got at the moment with our consistency, particularly in the league. You know, the lesser teams, if you like, we beat quite comprehensively, but the bigger teams, I don't know, we don't seem to be beating them.
No.
Okay, let's look at the youngsters then, the crop that are coming through. We touched on it at the very top of the programme. Mascherano arguably comes into that category, doesn't he?
He's a very young player, isn't he? And he's a full international. You know, he's been around. He had a very good World Cup, and of course that's what brought him to England. Probably the attention that him and Tevez received. He's probably pushed Sissoko down the pecking order, and of course the arrival of Lucas as well. We have got a very good, strong midfield, particularly in the middle, I think.
Would he have been your choice, Mascherano, the young player, or would you have gone somewhere else?
I'd have agreed with that. I like Lucas, but of course he hasn't played enough to probably get that nomination or the award.
Yeah. I'd say Agger as well, you know. He had I wouldn't say he had a bad start, you know, he did okay when he first come into the team, but you could see he was finding his feet and bedding in, and then bringing him in the January and giving him, you know, a couple of months, he was ready for the start of the season, and, you know, Agger's just been brilliant.
I think we've missed Agger this season,
when
he's been off injured. He's like Reina, another calming influence, very comfortable on the ball. He's just a good footballer.
Yeah.
Missed them badly, haven't they, as well, when you look at, you know, the stick that Hoopier took halfway through the season as well, for Agger to come in, you know, and as you say, he started so well for the team, they missed him. Yeah,
he's a good player. I mean, he's very young as well. He can be at Liverpool for the rest of his career, I imagine. He was quite a big signing, 5 million or so. Relatively unknown, but quite a lot of money for a young player.
Yeah.
Maybe at first he was a little bit, not naive, but, you know, young. But I think he's quick to learn. Hopefully he'll be a Liverpool centre-half for many years to come.
I'm sure he will be. The goal against Chelsea, the semi-final, will be one that sticks in people's mind for Daniel Agger.
Yeah, he does score goals though. He's got a few, hasn't he?
He scored a cracker, didn't he?
West Ham, I think.
Top corner,
yeah.
Burst the net.
Yeah, and he's dangerous from corners as well. You know, he's a good footballer, but he scores goals. But, you know, you get defenders who are like that, but they can't defend. But he can defend as well. I mean, at the first Chelsea semi-final, the first leg at Stamford Bridge, Drogba gave him a bit of a going over. Not over the whole course of the game, but there was a couple of instances where Drogba got the better of him, and people were asking questions of him maybe then, but then the second leg he was absolutely outstanding, and he didn't give Drogba a kick, you know, so he learned from that, and, you know, that's a good sign. He can learn from his mistakes and that, and I think he's going to be a great player.
When we talk about Lucas Leiva, and you mentioned him before, does it excite you when you hear people like Steven Gerrard talking about what he sees in training from him? Already he says he's a great player. Very much
so, and I mean, a testament to that was the derby. Gerrard came off, a lot of eyebrows were raised. We had a lot of Liverpool fans perhaps a bit bemused and unhappy that, you know, the skipper's taken off. And it was Lucas Leiva, he would have scored, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would.
You know, Dad felt Neville
played
cheating
really
on
well.
the line.
Yeah, when he come on, he played really well. But he's got a maturity about his game as well. You know, he doesn't look like a young player the way he plays. You know, he's a very exciting player.
He's not traditional in the way you would expect a Brazilian midfielder to play, is he? Which
he's not really a flair player as such, although I think there's a lot more to his game than we've necessarily seen, because he's been playing in like more of a holding role and he's just keeping it simple. But I think there's a lot more from him. You know, we may see if Gerrard's rested, you know, Lucas might be given more of an attacking midfield role, you know, in the future. It would be something to look for. But I definitely think there's more to him than what we've seen. But what we've seen has been very good.
Okay, so your choices, just to clarify, which player you would have chosen as your Young Player of the Year for 2007?
I don't know. I'd have to say, I'd agree with Dave.
I suppose I've got to say Mascherano, because he was close to getting the overall awards. But you know, it's what you define as young player. I mean, Aga's younger than Mascherano, so I'll say Aga.
Yeah.
Both for Aga.
We decided Aga.
Yeah, I think he's younger than him anyway.
Yeah. The Premier League performance of the year, the game that sticks in your mind most from the league campaign 2007.
For me, Arsenal, when Crouchy got the hat-trick. I think that was a really good performance that day, and Crouch was just unplayable. He was sensational that day. Great goals. The third one especially, you know, fancy footwork and that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Really enjoyed that game.
Perfect hat-trick. I think we can take a look at that very game right now.
Once more, Pennant. Arbeloa fending off DRB. A pair of back heels. And a chance and a goal! Peter Crouch! 3.5 minutes in. Arsenal have beaten Liverpool 3 times this season, but on home ground it is the Reds from Merseyside who strike first. It's a push in the back of Peter Crouch there. Toure protests and then has to resume his defensive station quickly. Fabio Aurelio and Crouch! What a header that is! Liverpool double their lead emphatically. Nice delivery and a goal, touched in by Daniel Agger. Liverpool have been threatening a third for a while, and George Gillette, the owner of the club, the chairman of the board, in all but name, looks on with a broad grin and applauds Liverpool on their way to victory.
Yeah, ball's whipped in from a free kick, left-footed, and Agger just gets up, picks off his player, and again Arsenal's Achilles heel. 2 goals again today, conceded from set plays.
Peter Crouch has been looking for a hat-trick ever since the 35th minute. Still he waits. Pennant. Here's Crouch, chance for the third!
What a goal! Fantastic hat-trick by Peter Crouch. The game is now definitely over for Arsenal and Liverpool have won it.
A classic hat-trick as well. Right foot, header, left foot.
And Arsenal's worst defeat in something like 6 years as well, and I think that the interview with Arsene Wenger stuck in my mind afterwards, said we just couldn't cope with Peter Crouch. That was the difference between the two teams that day.
Yeah, he was brilliant, he really was.
I think we definitely owed Arsenal the performance after they humiliated us in the League Cup in particular.
Yeah, well, they beat us
in the FA Cup previous to that.
In terms of Arsenal teams who don't concede goals, I mean, the goals that Crouch scored, creating for himself, as you say, the classic hat-trick, I mean, it just shows Peter Crouch at his very best, how dangerous he can be on his day.
I love Crouch, I think he's great. I mean, sometimes like he doesn't look, you know, like he'll be great one week and then the next week not so great and that, but on his day when he's on form he's unplayable.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
How would you set your team up to play against Crouch? It's one of our ex-pros up and down the course of the year. Do you stand off him? Do you give him a yard? Do you go in and try and challenge, make it hard for him?
I don't know, I imagine it'd be pretty hard to defend against Crouch, because although he's not prolific in there, you know, he is a very tall player, so I don't know, he's got that aspect to his game, but he's also very, very good on the attack.